Shiraishi is an ugly loner who is ignored by everyone except for a hot purple-haired popular girl, which makes things take an unexpected turn as everyone starts noticing him and he begins to take charge of his life. However, everything changes when he is asked out by the popular girl. Before this, Shirashi, a loner with 0 RZ, is a teenager with an incredibly low spiritual presence, practically invisible to everyone around him. He had come to accept his role as a background character in his own life story. One day, as he sat in class, a hot and popular baddie named Kuban Nessa suddenly appeared before him and began taking pictures of him. Shirashi couldn't help but feel irritated by this intrusion, especially since only his family had been able to see him before. It was now his popular classmate Kubo who could see him. Shirashi believed that Kubo's presence was worlds apart from his due to her popularity. However, Kubo seemed to take delight in teasing him and was intrigued by his invisibility. She frequently tested the limits of how invisible he could be. She even dared him to stand on a desk to prove his invisibility, but their antics caught the attention of the teacher on the entire class. Amid the chaos, Kubo's friend called her to their next class, and they left Shirashi behind. Later, Kubo and her friends discussed Shirashi extensively on their way home. The following day, Kubo sought out Shirashi again and boldly sat on Bro's lap during class, confident that nobody would notice. Shirashi was surprised and shy about the situation but was amazed when no one in the class seemed to notice Kubo sitting on him. As they remained in class, Kubo made Shay stand and answer a question when she raised her hand. This drew surprised reactions from many students who even realized Shirashi was present due to his usual invisibility. Shirashi found himself struggling to determine whether Kubo was a friend, a bully, or simply using him for her amusement. Meanwhile, Kubo attempted to obtain Shiri's phone number, but was consistently interrupted by her friend who couldn't see Shiri's presence. During the weekend, Kubo spotted Shirashi in the park and attempted to take a selfie with him. However, her camera couldn't recognize his face, so she had to almost sit on him again to capture the picture. Eventually, she managed to get his phone number. Later that night, Shirshir reflected on the day's events, particularly the selfie and phone number exchange. To his surprise, he received a text from Kubo, and being unused to texting people, he was taken aback when she asked if they could hang out sometime. Shirashi agreed, but Kubo's older sister noticed Kubo's happiness immediately after she had taken a bath. Shirashi, Kubo, and other students went to the gym. Consequently, Shueisha complained about feeling tired. He met Kubo in the corridor, who gave him a scented towel and secretly relished the fact that they now smelled identical. Suddenly, amid their chat, Kubo's friend called her, prompting her to head over to her friends. Kubo's friends were surprised by how happy she seemed, but she simply smirked in response. Later, at Shiri's house, he bid farewell to his mother and went shopping for manga. However, upon reaching the manga shop, the automatic door failed to detect him passing by. Kubo noticed the issue and assisted him by opening the door. Upon seeing his favorite manga series, Kubo asked if she could borrow them, and she agreed. Kubo then requested that he bring them to school the following day. After obtaining the manga, Kubo realized that their homes were only 5 minutes apart and suggested they walk to school together. The two proceeded, and upon reaching Kubo's house, Shiri gave her some manga. The next morning, Kubo woke up early to meet Shiraishi, and she used her sister's hairspray. However, as she had breakfast, her sister Aina noticed Kubo was wearing perfume and teased her about trying to get cultured and also wishing her luck. Kubo was a bit flustered but continued to school. Upon finally meeting Shiri after a long wait, Kubo was mildly disappointed when he didn't notice the perfume. Nevertheless, they continued with Shiri, pondering that it was his first time walking to school with a classmate. Meanwhile, they found a bench to wait since they still had time. When they sat down, Kubo's friends Suzuki and Tama arrived and greeted her. However, they didn't notice Shiraishi until Kubo pointed him out, and once she did, they finally noticed him. The four of them then proceeded to school. After school, Shushi's invisibility led to a car splashing him with a puddle. Needing a shower, he returned home but had lost his key. Kubo kindly invited him to shower at her house, and though he wasn't thrilled with the idea, he agreed. Shiraishi awkwardly accepted, but Kubo felt embarrassed when he spotted her bra in the laundry. After their showers, Kubo borrowed her gym tracksuit, and Shiri thanked her for letting him use her bathroom and swimsuit before departing. Kubo noticed that Shuei's hair was still wet, so she advised him to dry it before leaving, to which he agreed. Afterwards, they said their goodbyes, and Shueisha walked home hyper-aware that he was wearing Kubo's clothes. Shirshir gave Kubo's tracksuit back, and that's when Kubo learned that Shirshir was only 1 inch taller than her. She teased him, mentioning that in couples, the boy is generally 6 inches taller. It was almost the end of the semester, and Shirashi, Kubo, and the other students were in class submitting their test to their teacher, Mr. Unzen Sensei. After the test, Shirshir said goodbye to Kubo, mentioning that he had some plans to attend to. Meanwhile, on her desk, Kubo's friends Tama and Isuki showed up to ask her how the test went. Later, after school, Shiri was with his younger brother. A certain woman appeared, thinking that the baby was alone due to Shiri's invisibility, but he quickly showed up and informed the woman that the baby was with him. Kubo suddenly spotted Shirashi at the park with his much younger brother Seda. She approached him carrying a drink in her hands. Seda insisted that they all share a drink, though Kubo noticed that Shiri only pretended to drink and correctly guessed that he was embarrassed by the indirect kiss. Later that night, Shirshir was reading his manga since it was cold. After some time, he went to the convenience store to buy a manga poster. However, at the store, Shiri was embarrassed as the magazine containing the poster had a bikini model on the cover. Suddenly, Aina, who is Kubo's sister and an employee at the store, appeared. She immediately told him that the magazine he was holding was for adults. Shirshir pointed out that he was putting it back since someone else left it, so Aina sold it to him but had no idea he was Kubo's friend. Shirashi was shocked that Aina could see him. After buying it, he said goodbye to her and left. However, Aina noticed that he had dropped his student ID. When Aina returned home, she gave the ID to Kubo to return it, commenting that he had bought a magazine with images of huge melons. This surprised Kubo, who had medium-sized melons herself. She asked Shirashi if he preferred large breasts and cover her embarrassment by teasing him. Kubo arranged to spend Christmas Eve with Shiraishi shopping. Upon arriving, Kubo revealed that she had bought him a gift. Shirashi rushed to buy her one, choosing gloves that matched her outfit. Kubo felt embarrassed by what she had bought him, bright yellow main character shirt to make him easier to see. Shiri was having fun with Seda when something surprising happened. Out of nowhere, Kubo showed up and disrupted their playtime. Shirashi was just goofing around, and Kubo started recording a video capturing Shiri's embarrassment without holding back. The next day at school, something strange happened between Shirashi and Kubo. Shirashi accidentally wore 2 different socks, but only Kubo noticed. In return, Kubo was wearing tights because her socks were still wet from the day before. Shirashi couldn't help but stare at her for a bit too long, and Kubo teased him with a playful smile during class. During their boring homework session, Shiri noticed that Kubo's behavior had changed a bit, making him curious. After school, Kubo invited Shiri to a nearby store to try a fancy drink, saying she wanted his help to avoid any mistakes with the order. Shirashi was unsure for a moment, tempted by the idea of somehow indirectly being cultured, yet Kubo, with a sly grin, decided to take a bite from Shiri's snack before departing, leaving him pondering whether to embrace this newfound connection or eschew it. Just as he waited in contemplation, an unforeseen collision disrupted his thoughts, causing him to clumsily drop his snack, an incident that went unnoticed by the 2 girls who inadvertently jostled him, seemingly oblivious to his presence, perpetuating his peculiar invisibility. On Valentine's Day, Shiri didn't expect much. He felt like he wasn't ripped enough. Yet an unexpected discovery awaited him at his desk, a solitary chocolate heart placed with an air of ambiguity that led him to instinctively dismiss it as a misplaced confection. An enigmatic notion nagged at his thoughts, causing him to wonder if Kubo might be the enigmatic benefactor. In a timely twist of fate, Kubo materialized by his side, and Shiraishi grappled with the challenge of articulating his skepticism regarding the improbable notion of someone gifting him Valentine's chocolate. With bated breath, he dared not consider that anyone would extend such a gesture toward him. Kubo, however, astutely detected the concealed chocolate beneath his desk and swiftly attributed it to a concealed secret admirer, thereby shrouding Shiraishi in bewildering speculation about the identity of this clandestine devotee. Later, within the confines of her own home, Kubo harbored a culinary ambition that diverged from her typical pursuits. Armed with bags of ingredients, she aspired to embark on a culinary endeavor, knowing well her reputation as a notoriously inept cook. She had devoted an entire night to the meticulous crafting of heart-shaped chocolate, even enlisting Aina's assistance, though the prospect of facing Aina's teasing remained an inevitable consequence. Shirashi liked the carefully made chocolate heart. The mystery of its origin continued to confound him, leaving him genuinely perplexed about the elusive identity of the one who had bestowed this heartfelt gesture upon him. Shiri had acquired his lunch and chose to dine outdoors, a departure from his usual solitary lunch routine. Just as he was about to begin his meal, Kubo unexpectedly joined him. As her friends T and Isuki were occupied elsewhere, Kubo proposed sharing their lunches, expressing an interest in a hand-feeding gesture. Shirashi evaded her initial attempt to hand-feed him but eventually found himself obliged to hand-feed her, much to her evident delight. She resolved to prepare something special to share with him on their next lunch encounter. Later, during a chat session with Tama, Isuki, and Kubo, T complimented Kubo on her personal growth. Intrigued, she probed Kubo about the existence of a crush. This inquiry rendered Kubo momentarily speechless, but she eventually disclosed that she wants to get cultured with Shiraishi. Consequently, her friends deduced that Kubo wanted to do some plot with Shiraishi. On a different note, T expressed disappointment, finding Shirashi unimpressive in terms of looks, athleticism, and overall appeal. Kubo took issue with this assessment, asserting that Tam remained ignorant of the true Shirashi concealed behind his unassuming exterior. In that moment, the two friends began to entertain the possibility that Kubo's feelings for Shirashi might transcend mere infatuation, although Kubo herself had yet to grasp the depth of her emotions. The following day, Shiraishi arrived at school earlier than usual, expecting to be the sole early bird in the classroom. To his surprise, he discovered Kubo had beaten him to it. They decided to share Shiri's chair while listening to Kubo's music, with her classmates selecting one of Shirashi's songs. However, Shiri declined, citing his belief that his songs, drawn from anime and video games, weren't good enough. Observing Shiri's fervent manga enthusiasm, Kubo decided to watch his favorite anime movie. Kubo's sister Aina emerged from the shower, curious about the movie Kubo was watching. Amused, Aina accurately deduced Kubo's intentions and the reason behind her actions. On White Day, Shiri found himself in possession of chocolates, but remained uncertain about the recipient since his secret admirer remained anonymous. In class, Shiri's discomfort was palpable, a fact that did not escape Kubo's notice. Sensing that Shiri had something on his mind, he asked Kubo to meet him privately. During their meeting, Shiri handed Kubo a chocolate, hoping she might have a clue about the identity of his secret admirer. However, Kubo received the chocolate and teased Shiraishi about it, leaving him more perplexed than before. Shiraishi was walking in the street when his wallet dropped. Immediately, a young girl named Saki, who saw him walking in the street, picked up the wallet and gave it back to him. Suddenly, Akina appeared, surprising Shiraishi upon her arrival. However, Akina recognized him as the one who had been reading an 18-plus nude magazine the other day. Therefore, she asked if he had received an ID from Kubo. In surprise, Shiraishi responded that he had but was embarrassed since he found out that Akina was Kubo's sister and Sei was her cousin. Then Akina teased him a little and told him that she would send a picture of Kubo when she saw nursing. The change agreed, and Akina sent that photo, and the three departed. As Shiraishi was going home and looking at the picture, he suspected Kubo's ability to see him might be in her family's genetics. Later, Akina returned home together with Saki, with fresh material to tease Kubo with. Upon returning, the two told Kubo that they met Shiraishi, making Kubo's heart beat that night. As Shiraishi was having breakfast with his family, his mother warned him that she would confiscate his games if he did badly, since exams were approaching. The next day at school, Shiraishi's teacher, Mr. Sensei, advised them to work hard since exams were next week. Later, Shiraishi went into the library to study upon seeing that many people were in class studying. However, Kubo showed up from nowhere and helped him solve mathematics, turning out to be an excellent tutor by the end. The next day, Shiraishi had a fever, so he decided to stay at home. However, he missed school more than before. Kubo was the only one who noticed his absence. Therefore, Kubo texted him, but Sei got his phone and sent back an "I miss you" emoji. Shiraishi hurriedly explained, so Kubo teased by sending him a lonely, without you emoji that she claimed Sei sent. After texting him, she started going back home from school. The following day, Shiraishi was late to school, but he met Kubo in the hallway, now with her fever. Upon seeing Shiraishi, Kubo was about to fall, so she decided to go to the infirmary. Since everyone was in class during the quiz, only Shiri was free, so Shiraishi decided to escort her, fearing that she might fall on the stairs if she walked alone to the infirmary. He helped her to the infirmary, where she held his hand until she fell asleep. Shiraishi realized for the first time that he felt like the main character in his own life story. Shiraishi, having successfully passed his exams, consequently found himself walking through the corridor where he encountered Kubo. With genuine gratitude, he expressed his thanks for her invaluable tutoring. However, despite their mutual appreciation, both harbored deep-seated worries about the impending class transitions looming on the horizon, which would inevitably occur as they transitioned into their second year of schooling, casting uncertainty upon the possibility of remaining in the same class. Simultaneously, the relentless rain pouring outside ignited a shared desire to depart from the confines of the school campus. Yet with subtle persuasion, Kubo skillfully manipulated Shiraishi into entertaining the notion of sharing an umbrella, perhaps intrigued by the prospect that it might render him more conspicuous within the crowd. Despite Kubo's tactful persuasion, Shiraishi, possessing a certain skepticism, politely declined her proposal, suspecting ulterior motives that hinted at a desire simply to walk home together. Undaunted by Shiraishi's initial refusal, Kubo exhibited remarkable selflessness by voluntarily surrendering her umbrella into Shiraishi's reluctant hand. Inescapably, this left him with no recourse but to acquiesce and accompany her on the journey home. As they traversed the rain-soaked streets, the idea of sharing an umbrella as a symbol of companionship, and possibly more than that, briefly flitted across Shiraishi's contemplative mind, compelling him to suggest an alteration to their usual route. However, as they drew closer to their respective homes, an unexpected encounter with Aina added an unforeseen dimension to their day. Interestingly, on this occasion, Akina chose not to indulge in her usual teasing of Kubo. Following Kubo's eventual return home, Akina, displaying a curiosity rooted in genuine interest, inquired about her friend's availability for the forthcoming weekend. To this query, Kubo responded affirmatively, confirming her willingness to spend time together. The following day brought forth another unexpected turn of events when Shiraishi, ever the observant classmate, noticed Saki laboring under the weight of her substantial shopping haul. Without hesitation, he volunteered to assist her, bearing in mind her impending task of preparing dinner for both Aina and Kubo. Initially met with resistance, Shiraishi's persistence eventually won Saki over, leading her to accept his assistance. As the minutes ticked by and Sei had yet to return home, a palpable sense of anxiety began to creep into Shiraishi's consciousness. 30 minutes past the appointed time, his mounting apprehension reached a breaking point, causing him to raise his voice in frustration. Fortunately, Aina stepped in, providing the support necessary to help him regain his composure. In the aftermath of this rather tense moment, Sei seized the opportunity to probe Shiraishi about the nature of his relationship with Kubo. In response, Shiraishi, with an air of nonchalance, insisted that they were nothing more than mere classmates. However, an inadvertent slip of Kubo's first name, Mana, coupled with her unmistakable reaction, led Shiraishi to subtly discern that their connection transcended the boundaries of conventional classmates. On the subsequent school day, Shiraishi's presence was unmistakably announced as he coughed intermittently, a stark contrast to his usual studious demeanor. In a rather unfortunate turn of events, he also found himself grappling with the loss of the spring from his pen, an essential tool for his academic endeavors. It was in this moment of vulnerability that Kubo, with remarkable thoughtfulness, deliberately handed him a rabbit-themed toy pen that bore an uncanny resemblance to her own, eliciting a genuine smile when he put it to use. Shiraishi couldn't help but admire the undeniable cuteness of this thoughtful gift. Later that evening, within the confines of Kubo's home, a casual sleepover took place featuring T and Hookie as guests. During their gathering, T and Hookie embarked on a heartfelt discussion regarding the impending class changes, articulating their concerns about the prospect of being separated from their cherished friends. They lamented the potential absence of shared class trips and the ability to partake in school events together, a situation that deeply unsettled them. What didn't escape their astute observations was Kubo's disquietude stemming from the looming possibility of losing her close connection with Shiraishi. Shiraishi and Sei embarked on a shopping excursion together. During the routine, an unexpected twist unfolded as Kubo suddenly appeared behind Shiraishi, bearing a substantial load of tomatoes. Almost instantly, Siki made her entrance, extending a warm greeting to Shiraishi. However, Sada found himself captivated by Saki's presence, swiftly retrieving a rock from his pocket and presenting it to her. This abrupt gesture left both Shiraishi and Kubo visibly astonished. In a surprising turn of events, Akina emerged onto the scene, injecting an element of playful teasing into the atmosphere. After some teasing, she posed a curious question to Shiraishi regarding his plans for the following day, to which he responded affirmatively. This response led to an invitation to a flower viewing picnic the next day, offered by Kina herself. The situation took a culinary turn when Kubo felt the urge to nourish Shiraishi with a dish of her creation. Later in the afternoon, she was fully immersed in meal preparation in the kitchen. Notably, she had been diligently peeling an onion since returning from their shopping adventure. However, upon noticing Saki wearing a pained expression, Kubo rushed to her aid despite her reservations about Shirashi. Thus, she decided to prepare a hamburg steak as she was aware of her infamous inability of cooking. Grateful for Sei's decision to assist, Kubo expressed her appreciation. It was during the onion cutting process that an unfortunate mishap occurred, leading to Saki taking over as Kubo accidentally cut her finger. Nevertheless, while Aina was outside, she offered Kubo valuable perspective. She encouraged her sister to learn from her mistake and attempt the task once more, emphasizing that mistakes were not devoid of purpose but rather constituted valuable experiences. Kubo agreed with her sister's wisdom and, with renewed determination, she successfully crafted the steaks to perfection. The subsequent day saw the group honor their commitment to attend a picnic. Sato wasted no time in sampling all the delectable dishes Shiraishi prepared. Kubo, ever considerate, ensured that Shiraishi had a taste of the steaks she had meticulously prepared, and his delight in their flavor brought a sense of contentment to her. However, the serene picnic took a somewhat unexpected turn when Aina, under the influence of alcohol, playfully teased Shiraishi about getting cultured and married. She also tried to make a move towards him in a rather surprising and awkward gesture, pushing her melons into his face. Kubo, incensed by this, decided to make a hasty exit. Sato, keen on reconciliation, implored Shiraishi to rectify the situation by apologizing to Kubo. Despite the apparent misunderstanding, Kubo remained upset, baffled by why Shiraishi was bearing the brunt of the blame when Aina was clearly at fault. Ultimately, Kubo's perspective shifted as she observed Shiraishi's genuine distress. Her resolve to mend the situation grew stronger, leading her to offer an apology as well. Shiraishi, perplexed by Kubo's mercurial nature, admitted that she frequently left him confused, much to her delight. In an unexpected twist, she broached the subject of whether Shiraishi would prefer being in her class the following year, a question that left him pleasantly surprised. The second year began, and on Shiraishi's way to school, people were surprised after he sneezed, realizing his presence again since he was considered invisible. As soon as he entered the classroom, he met Kubo while searching for a seat. He found out that he and Kubo were once again in the same class and sat next to each other. Later, Kubo and her friends T and Oppi chilled while having drinks. They were happy because they were also in the same class. Similarly, Isuki and T sat close to each other. Later, as Kubo returned home, she told her sister Aina about being in the same class with her friends. On the other hand, Shiraishi found that he was actually looking forward to the coming year. The following day, Teacher Sensei proposed that the children should join a club by the name of the Environmental Committee. However, most students refused to do so, but the teacher approached Shiraishi after Kubo said that Shiraishi was present. The teacher appreciated the fact that he took care of the flowers the previous semester, so he said that he was counting on him this year. Therefore, Kubo joined the Environmental Committee with Shiraishi after he revealed he enjoyed people admiring the flowers he grew, even though no one ever saw him tending to them. While in the same class, boys discussed the reason why Kubo had joined the Environmental Committee since they thought it did not suit her. Others thought that it was because of Kubo's presence in the committee that made Shiraishi join. To make this clear, the boys asked one of the guys by the name of Puto, being a new classmate. Puto could actually recall being with Shiraishi on the Environmental Committee last year, so she arranged for the three of them to be in the same science group. Then Kubo asked Shiraishi if he wanted to talk to Puto. However, Shiraishi had nothing to say about this. Puto had actually spent all the first year trying to talk to Shiraishi about committee business, but never saw him once. Later, as they were in the science lab, Kubo came up with the idea that Puto should start talking to Shiraishi now. Thanks to Kubo, they managed to talk for the first time, which Shiraishi enjoyed, and he thanked Kubo for her help, flustering her unexpectedly. While walking home, Shiraishi confirmed that he and Kubo were now friends, annoying her a little that he didn't consider them friends a long time ago. Kubo, having successfully won the staring contest against Shiraishi and earned the right for him to greet her first in the morning as a forfeit, eventually found herself in a peculiar situation sometime later. As Shiraishi was savoring the refreshing spring air, his classmates accidentally covered him in chalk dust without noticing his presence. However, the two guys who caused this mishap later offered their apologies. After the chalk dust incident, Shiraishi sought refuge in the bathroom to clean up, but to his surprise, Kubo promptly followed him and, with nimble hands, brushed the dust from his hair. During this impromptu cleanup, she playfully teased him for fussing over girls with ponytails. Meanwhile, Kubo couldn't help but notice that Shiraishi had grown taller, prompting her to in on comparing their heights against a wall. As they found themselves in this height-comparing situation, it inadvertently led to an embarrassing wall-slapping position, causing Shiraishi to flee in utter embarrassment. Unbeknownst to Shiraishi, this encounter had flustered Kubo to the point where her knees went weak. The next morning, to Kubo's delight, Shiraishi greeted her first, bringing a smile to her face before their physical exams. Kubo borrowed Shiraishi's tracksuit jacket, which left him perplexed. It turned out that girls wearing their boyfriend jackets had become a trendy gesture. Notably, Shiraishi had grown by 3 centimeters while Kubo had remained the same height. In another encounter, Akina came across Shiraishi secretly shadowing Sada, who was on his first errand to buy eggs by himself. This scene triggered a fond memory of Kubo's first egg-buying errand, which ended with Kubo breaking her eggs. However, Kubo's tears were quickly pacified when Akina gently stroked her head. Akina also subtly hinted to Shiraishi that Kubo still cherished having her head stroked, and that could reliably soothe her if she ever became upset. Kubo had asked Shiraishi to join in for a movie, which left Shiraishi feeling flustered, especially when she encountered him with her hair in a ponytail. Despite her surprise, Shiraishi reluctantly agreed. As they boarded the overcrowded train, circumstances forced them to sit in a position that could easily lead to them getting cultured, causing Shiraishi to assume an uncomfortable position to avoid contact with Kubo. Unfortunately, the cramped conditions also made Shiraishi a target for oblivious commuters who repeatedly jostled her. Inside the train, a few guys attempted to make moves on Kubo, infuriating her. In response, she grabbed Shiraishi and boldly claimed that he was her ripped boyfriend, which promptly scared off the would-be suitors. Shiraishi couldn't help but notice Kubo still holding his arm even after the guys had departed. Due to their failure to pre-book tickets, they endured a lengthy wait before securing seats next to each other. Upon reaching a cafe, Kubo was surprised to discover Shiraishi's preference for black coffee. Determined to try it, Kubo took a sip but found the bitter flavor overwhelming. Consequently, he remade the coffee for her, this time adding milk and sugar, but found it too sweet for his own liking. During the movie, Kubo observed a wider range of emotions on Shiraishi's face than usual. Shiraishi admitted that he typically concealed his feelings due to embarrassment, though Kubo still believed he was relatively easy to read. As they walked home together, Kubo convinced Shiraishi to promise to go to other places with her. Shiraishi couldn't help but worry about what secret emotions Kubo might have already discerned from his expressions. The two watched a popular personality test after seeing it on television. Kubo ran the test on Shiraishi and determined he would likely only love one woman his entire life. On the other hand, Shiraishi ran a different test on Kubo, revealing she wanted a lot of children, causing her to leave early out of embarrassment. The following day, Aina noticed Kubo was growing up more every day and felt nostalgic about her childhood memories. On his birthday, while daydreaming about cake, Shiraishi's stomach growled so loudly that the entire class noticed him. Amused, Kubo gave him birthday-themed chocolate to settle the stomach, surprising him that she remembered his birthday was in April. She also gave him a soft toy, so he awkwardly promised to buy her a gift for her birthday in August. The fact that someone actually remembered his birthday made him so happy he hid his face so she wouldn't see him smiling. Shiraishi started to really wonder why only Kubo could see him easily. Kubo reminisced that she first learned of his invisibility after seeing him in T's middle school yearbook, after which she began seeing him all the time and found his invisibility funny. When she was assigned the seat beside him and actually spoke to him, his reaction amused her so much she decided to do it every day from then on. Will Kubo and Shiraishi be open enough to go public about their date or not?